I'm going to start just really quickly because some of you may not be familiar with my social practice, but we've been working with dental practices, and we only work with dental practices for about 15 years. And we're a dental marketing company, and we've built our business not by spending a lot of money on advertising and things like that. We've built our business through relationships. One of the relationships that we've really loved working with is working with Ultradent and a group called the Crown Council to help raise charity money. And you know what? I can't believe this, but my dog is down here and he was not supposed to be down here. Give me 1 second. He is a really fluffy dog, and he kind of like blended in with all the pillows on the couch over there. So anyway, anyway, we work with Ultradent and the Crown Council to run a campaign called Smiles for Life, which is a campaign where Ultradent donates all of their whitening materials. The Crown Council has about 1,000, maybe 1,200 practices that are a member of that group. And then we provide the marketing tools and strategies to help promote this. But basically, somebody comes in, they get whitening done, they pay for it. The dentist doesn't take any of that money, him or herself. It's all donated to children's charities. And we've raised over $50 million. And it's something we're super proud of. And so I like to mention that because we really want to help the dental industry do good. We've worked with just over 7,000 practices in the United States and Canada. So we're well attuned to the struggles of a dental practice and what goes on in an office. We've helped practices get over 350,000 reviews, online reviews, almost 3 million social media followers. This is just a conglomeration, excuse me, of all of the followers and reviews that we helped all of our practices gather. And we have our own conference that we do every year. It's called the Dental Digital Marketing Conference. We're on year 10, and you're all welcome to come to this next time we get it scheduled. So anyway, a little bit about us. I'm the CEO. We have about 30 employees. We're mostly, we only work with dentists in the United States and Canada, English speaking. All right, let's get on to this topic. Okay, mastering local SEO. Now, I've broken this up into 3 sections. I've got what is SEO. I think it's important to like define that before we jump in and start talking about strategies, because some of the vernacular and the acronyms can get confusing. So I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to talk about how local SEO works. And then we're going to do a workshop. We'll actually have you guys pull your phones out and we'll walk through doing some optimization on your phone. So let's start with what is SEO. So if you've gone to a marketing conference, you've sat in on a presentation from a marketing company, you've probably heard these kind of words being thrown around: local SEO, organic SEO, SEM, SERPs, SEO, GBP, there's lots of other ones. And I'm going to talk about all of these and kind of define them so that next time you hear these words, you'll kind of have some reference to what exactly they are, because it can get really, really confusing. And then we're going to focus specifically on local SEO. So why should you care about local SEO? Why is it that I'm focusing on this? Local SEO is the section in search that has to do with the Google map. So there's been a ton of studies on this, not just in dentistry, just consumer-wide, business-wide, that only about 10% of people, when they do a search on Google, only about 10% of them actually engage with the ads at the top. And there's less confidence in the ads. You probably skip over these yourself, like I do typically. So, but those are right at the top of the page. Right below that, you have the Google Maps section, and about 2/3 to 3/4, depending on which study you look at, is the number of, or the percentage of patients or consumers to interact in this section of the search results. So it's big deal. This is where most people interact. And then below that are the organic listings, which are the website listings, and about a quarter of people engage and trust those listings. So this section here, when it comes to a brick and mortar business and being able to be found and seen and chosen, is a big deal in terms of generating new patients. Now, there are two types of searches that people will do. Anybody, a patient, anybody, you. There are direct searches and there are discovery searches. This is an umbrella term, or I should say searching is an umbrella term, and these are two general distinctions between the type of search that somebody does. On the left, I did a search for Getsy Dental Kansas City. That's called a direct search. And on the right, I did a discovery search, dental consultant in San Diego, California. I'm going to talk about both of these, okay? But the SERP, which I'll be mentioning SERP as we kind of go through this, is an acronym for search engine results page. So all the SERP is basically when you type in a search and you hit enter and something comes up, that's the SERP, a search engine results page. Okay, it's just they say SERP because nobody wants to say search engine results page because it takes too long, apparently. All right, so let's talk about direct searches. A direct search is when somebody searches directly for your name or the name, like your personal name, or for the name of your business or your practice. So when I search Getsy Dental Kansas City, that's a direct search. I know what I'm looking for. I know I want to get information about Getsy Dental in Kansas City. Getsy Dental is a supply company, it's a consulting management supply company. Now, over on the right-hand side of the page, when you do a direct search, there's something called the knowledge graph. And it's all this information about the business. And this information comes from your Google business profile. It doesn't come from your website. It comes from your business profile, which is basically your listing in the Google database. So Google has a database of businesses. It's like a directory, like Healthgrades or WebMD or any of those other directories. And your listing is somewhere in there. And all the information here comes from that listing. So it links to your website. There's a website link in there, but they're not grabbing that information from your website. It's all coming from your listing. So, so when you do this search, when you do a direct search, what you'll notice is that all of the information on the page, the top listing, the knowledge graph, everything down below, it's all about the company that you're searching for. When you do a direct search, Google knows well enough, and their system is smart enough that it will basically find everything about that business. They're not going to run it. You can find ads, but typically you don't find ads of other companies running ads on your name. But you're not going to find the map, because the map lists other businesses related to your search. You're just going to find all of your information. So when it comes to direct searches, there's not much you need to do in terms of SEO. If your website is set up correctly and your Google business profile is set up correctly, Google makes the connection and just shows you what you want. Okay. So if you have problems, like if you search your name and you're not seeing all of your information, there's something wrong with your website. There's probably something wrong with your Google business profile. Now, that's a direct search. A discovery search is a different type of search, and this is what you need to do SEO with. A discovery search is basically any kind of a phrase where someone searches it, but they don't know the end result. They're looking for the result, but they don't know what it is. So me searching for a dental consultant near me, rather than, ABC Dental Consulting Company, is the difference between a discovery search and a direct search. Now, with consultants, as I've been researching this and preparing this presentation and working with other consultants, I've noticed that the SERPs, the search engine results pages that come up, they are wonky. They're a little bit funky, and I'm going to show you some of the things that happen. But sometimes it'll show a map, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll have ads, sometimes it won't. And part of that is because when it comes to local SEO, which is the map, okay? In order to produce a map, you have to have enough businesses in that area. You have to have at least 3 businesses in that area to produce the map. So if you do a search in an area that's small, and there's only 1 consulting company there, then, or maybe 2, you're probably not going to see the map. Okay. So here's 2 examples to give you an idea. On the left, I did a search dental practice coach near me. And then on the right, I did dental consultant in San Diego, California. Okay. So 2 discovery searches, one without a geographical indicator, just near me, and the other saying San Diego, California. And what you'll notice on the one on the left is that there's no map, but there are 4 ads. And then there's this weird knowledge, well, it's not, I shouldn't say weird, but Dental Coach USA is a dental coaching company that somehow popped up in the as the knowledge graph. And I'm going to come back to this because I didn't search Dental Coach USA. I did search Dental Practice Coach. So dental and coach were in the search phrase. So I think Google connected my search phrase thinking that I was looking for Dental Coach USA. But I'm going to come back later on in the presentation and talk about how that happens. Anyway, but you have basically 4 sponsored ads. Now on the other search result where I used San Diego, California, there are no ads, but there is a map. And that's because nobody's running ads for that phrase. And there are at least 3 consulting companies in San Diego. So the map pops up. So the way to think about this is depending on where you're located and where your business is located, if you have a physical business address, maybe it's your home, maybe you have a physical, a business that you have that's not in your home, right? And you have an address. Depending on depending on whether or not that's set up correctly, and if there's any competitors in the area, you'll end up seeing different types of SERPs. Okay. So let me show you a couple things about this. So I was trying to see if I could figure out if there were some search phrases where I could get a map every time for dental consulting, and I couldn't. It was really hard. They'll pop up every once in a while, but then sometimes I wouldn't see them. But then I found this search phrase that was really interesting: dental practice coach near city state. So this one's Kansas City, Missouri. And I found these 4 ads. These are search engine. This is called search engine marketing or pay-per-click or Google ads. They're all kind of the same thing. One for Scheduling Institute, Tower Leadership, Growth Plug, and Optimize PS. Then I ran it for several other cities. So this is one for Chicago, Illinois. Same phrase: dental practice coach near Chicago, Illinois. 4 ads. Merit Bookkeeping, Crossfire, that's how you say that, Scheduling Institute, and Growth Plug. I did it again: Atlanta, Scheduling Institute, BizRock, Crossfire, Optimize PS. And what I noticed as I kept doing this, and I did a whole bunch of them, is that there's about 5 or 6 companies that are running ads on that phrase across the country. So these are consulting companies that are trying to generate leads, although they may not have a physical location in that area. They're running an ad for that area, right? So dental practice coach near Atlanta, and they probably have picked out the top 50 cities or 100 cities, and they're running ads on all of that. And they're all kind of competing with each other, okay? Kind of interesting. Anyway, so this is all called SEM, search engine marketing. It's not SEO, which is search engine optimization, it's search engine marketing. So if you're ever in a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh, we'll do your search engine marketing, they're talking about running your ads, Google ads, things like that, okay? But they're not talking necessarily about optimizing so that you just rank higher. Now, there are some advantages to running ads. It's quick. Once you set up the ads platform in Google and you put in your budget and the keywords you want to rank for, you're there. It takes like no time at all. And it's the highest SERP position. The reason that Google puts the ads at the top is because that's how they make their money. That's how they became a multi-billion-dollar company, is by running ads. So it's quick and you get the highest position. The disadvantages are it's like a renting versus buying. Basically, you are only there when you pay for it. right? You don't keep anything. There's nothing lingering. Like you turn it on, turn it off, you're up, you'd be seen, you're not seen. It can be really, really expensive. Now, I haven't done any research on, I haven't run dental consulting Google ad campaigns, but if any of you on the call are interested in running ads and you're not right now, I'd like to actually do an audit and see what it would cost. I'm happy to run an audit and kind of like check areas and see. I can basically go in, not me, but my SEM team can go in and they can say, oh, okay, what would it cost to run ads in this area for these keywords for dental consulting? I'm really kind of curious what it costs, because I noticed that in a lot of the search phrases that I ran, there were no ads being run. And if there's no ads being run, there's no competition. And if there's no competition, that means your click cost goes down. So let me know if anybody wants to do this. I'm happy to do kind of a whole audit and kind of like a kind of case study on it to, and I would use that in some of my presentations and whatnot. All right, so it can be expensive. It's the least trusted of all the results on a SERP, right? Everybody always skips the ads. So people typically don't click on it. And it's really, really complicated. Like I have spent, like I say, 15 years in the dental industry. I've spent a lot of time in Google Ads, and it is so freaking confusing. You really need somebody to do it for you. If you're in a highly competitive area, then you could burn through a budget, thousands of dollars pretty quick, and not know what mistakes you've made. So I would recommend that you always work with somebody that's had some experience in that, or hire a marketing company or somebody that understands the platform. Okay. All right. Now, right below ads, there's the map, typically, right? Now, we've talked that sometimes the consultant phrases and the consultant SERPs don't show a map, but sometimes they do. But that's always going to be right below the search engine marketing. And this is what we call local SEO. The benefits of local SEO is if you optimize your listing, your Google listing, and you start ranking well up there, you're buying versus renting. When somebody finds you in that area and they click on your website or they make a call, you don't pay anything for it. You're just there. And there's definitely a lingering effect. Once you've done the optimization, you're kind of there. It's like it takes a while for you to like fall out of position. So the SEO value there is kind of like I call it lingering, has a lingering effect. It takes a little while to get there, but it also takes a while to fall out. So you're kind of buying versus renting. It's definitely trusted. Most people go to the Google Maps section and they click or they call or they interact with the results that are listed there. There's a low comparative cost of doing SEO to rank in maps versus ads, versus like Google ads. And the other thing is there's no advantage to a larger organization with a larger budget. There is in search engine marketing and ads, if you're competing with another organization that's got, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on advertising on Google, then you just have to, you're always trying to beat them out, right? You're trying to beat out their bid strategy, and they can bid higher than you because they got more money. But here, the optimization strategies, it just takes a little bit of time and anybody can do it. And there's no advantage to somebody with more money. So little dogs can play with big dogs in the local SEO section. The disadvantages is it takes time. At least 6 months of ongoing optimization before you start seeing really big benefits. And I'll show you some examples of that here in a little bit. Now, below that, so we've got search engine marketing, we've got local SEO, the map section, and then we've got organic listings. And the organic listings are a lot like local. The advantages are you're buying versus renting. You're just optimizing your website so that your website pages rank higher. There's a low comparative cost. There's no advantage to organizations with larger budgets. But the disadvantages is time again, and you're lower on the SERP. So Google doesn't really make any money with all the website links that are way low. And so they don't emphasize them. They don't put them higher on the page. Matter of fact, over the years, if you've paid attention, they used to have the website listings way up top, and they've pushed them all the way down. So now it's ads, Google, Maps, and then your website listings. And people just don't scroll that low. You know, a lot of people find their solution or what they're looking for higher up on the page, so they never scroll down. So you just don't get as much traffic down lower on the page. Now, discovery searches for dental practices. So that's all about kind of like consultants and discovery searches for consultants. But when we talk about dental practices, it's very, very similar, okay? And this is what you can kind of relay to your clients. So if you're walking in and you're delivering, you know, you've got a meeting or whatnot, and you want to give them some cool information. This is some information that you could tell them that I think would be valuable. So with dentistry, because there's 115,000 dental practices in the United States, something like that. I can't remember the latest number. It's highly, highly competitive. Any search that you do that's a discovery search, like dental implants in Cincinnati, Ohio, is always going to populate a map almost every single time. And there's usually ads, especially for high value services like implants and full arch and Invisalign. Everybody's bidding on those because they want those patients. So you're always going to see some search engine marketing up top, okay? And it's the same type of advantages. It's quick, it's the highest SERP position, and this for dentists, I think, is very profitable with valuable services. Full arch implants, Invisalign, emergency dentistry maybe, but you wouldn't want to run ads on something like tooth cleanings or something like that, because you're going to spend so much money to pay for the clicks that you probably won't make it up on the patient. So it's kind of hard you want to stick to high value services if you're running ads as a dentist. The disadvantages is, again, it's renting versus buying. There is an advantage to organizations with larger budgets, big time. An example of that is I am aware of at least 3 companies that are not dental practices. These are marketing companies that run ads across the country for full arch and dental implants. And they run all those ads to their own sales floor, and the salespeople schedule appointments and sell the patient to the practice. So if you jump in to search engine marketing and you're going to start competing with the big dogs, you're dealing with people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, probably, maybe more, to run ads to get high value patients, and they turn around and sell them to dental practices. I know that sounds like scammy. It kind of is scammy, but it happens. That's what's happening. So it's highly, highly, highly competitive. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll probably waste a lot of money. So get a pro, get somebody who's done it before, or hire the marketing company that's running the ads and selling the patients. All right. So then you have Google Maps, right, for dental practices, and the same thing goes. It's buying versus renting. It's trusted by patients. It's a low comparative cost to search engine marketing. There's no advantage to organizations that are larger. So my example of a marketing company running ads, they cannot compete locally in the map section because they don't have an office there. You have to have a physical office to show up in Google Maps. So single practices who might be competing with, say, large DSOs, still the DSOs wouldn't have any kind of advantage because there's no bidding strategy here that you don't pay for it. You're just doing the optimization so the little dogs can hang with the big dogs, so to speak, in this section. I did a webinar on Tuesday for a group called AIDA, or IDA. I can't remember how they pronounce it, but it's Getsy Dental, Nashville Dental, Atlanta Dental, and Midwest Dental, and all their practices. And they wanted me to talk about what to do to allow their single location dental practices compete with DSOs. And this is it. This is the thing that they can do. They can optimize to rank higher in maps. The disadvantages is it takes time, okay? And then down below, you've got the organic listings, same thing. Renting versus buying, low comparative cost, no advantage to organizations with larger budgets, disadvantages, time, and it's lower on the SERP. So it's similar, right? The SERP is similar in terms of the advantages and disadvantages to both consultants and dental practices. So basically what we've got is we've got all these keywords. We've talked about local SEO, SERPs, search engine marketing, SEM. organic SEO or the website listings, SEO, and GBP, which stands for Google Business Profile. So when you're thinking about kind of hierarchically, that's a word. I just made it up if it's not. SEO is an umbrella term that means how do you optimize your practice or your business to rank higher on the SERPs. And it's SEM, local SEO, and organic SEO. Okay, that's the way to think about it. So ads, maps, website results. All right. If you have any questions with that, chat them in. I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to move on to the next section of the presentation. Okay. So how does local SEO work? Now, the best way to show how this works is to actually show an example of how weird it can get. All right. So I'm going to use an example that's a dental practice example, but the context is the same for a consultant, for a consultant business. Okay. So this is a snapshot of where I live. I live in Draper, Utah. It's south of Salt Lake. And I live in that little red circle down at the bottom. That's where I'm at right now. If you reach up there and you scratch the screen, you'll push the screen, you'll squash me. All right. So I live there, and the closest 4 dental practices are these 4 dental practices. They're all about 4 to 4.5 miles away. Spangler and Tullis, Marcus, Welch, and Matthew Smile. Now, I went on to Google and I did 8 different searches, and I took a screenshot of the map section. Okay. So what you're looking at is you're looking at the 8 different searches and the screenshot that I took from each one. And I did near me searches. So dental cleaning near me, dental clinic near me, best dentist near me, dentist near me, and so on. You can read them. Okay. And I was just looking to see how many of those 4 practices that are like right down the road from me. Okay. Well, they're not right down the road. I live on a kind of on a hill, and you got to drive down the mountain. So there's nothing up here, and everything's down in the valley. So I wanted to see how many of those 4 practices that were closest to me would show up in search. And none of them did except one time. Welch right there. For dentist near me, he showed up as the 3rd listing, and he doesn't even have any reviews. So I'm probably not going to call him. Okay. But there was another practice that did show up more than any other practice, Draper Parkway Dental. They showed up 4 times of those 8 different searches. And Draper Parkway Dental is 7.5 miles away from my house. So that's weird. Why is it when I do a near me search, does Google not show me hardly anybody that's near me and emphasizes a practice that's twice as far away? Now you'd think this is a fluke. Like, oh, this is just where I live. This happens everywhere all the time. This is just part of the algorithm, the way that Google's algorithm works to decide who should go on the map is not, it's correlated to your location and where somebody's searching from, but there's a whole bunch of other things that it looks at. So it's often, most of the time, there's a practice that's further away that's showing up for a patient. They're like jumping in front of somebody, another practice that's closer to them. So the way to think about this is that Google Map results are dependent not necessarily on where your practice or your business, your consulting business is located, but where the patient or the client is searching from. And this can get really, really confusing. Here's how it can get confusing. I was on the phone with a doctor maybe 2 or 3 months ago. He had inquired to see if we could help him do some marketing. He called in and he needed to get some patients soon, like quick. He was like, I need the patients now, kind of thing. So we checked out his social and his website and all his reputation and everything else. And I said, well, have you thought about doing SEO? And he says, I don't need to do SEO. I already rank #1 for about everything. I said, well, where do you rank #1 for everything? He said, in the map. I said, oh, really? I said, so what were you on your phone when you were searching? He says, yeah, I was searching on my phone. I searched, best dentist, dental implants, blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like right on the front page. I said, well, where were you searching from? Are you in your office? He's like, yeah, I was in my office. Okay, which basically explains the confusion. The confusing part of local search is that Google is looking at the GPS connection of your phone, if you're on your phone, or they're looking at your internet connection if you're on a computer, and they're looking at that and they're correlating that, or they're creating some, there's a locality issue between you and the practice. If you're sitting in a dental practice and you search best dentist near me, if the practice that you're sitting in doesn't show up, number one, they've got serious problems. So the doctor didn't understand that, and which most people don't. They don't understand that where you're searching from has a huge impact on where that practice shows up in Google, in local SEO or in the Google map. So I said to him, I said, look, well, did you go across the street and do the same search, or did you go up, to a different area? And he hadn't. And he was like, thought that was kind of a dumb idea, but I explained it to him. I'm like, well, your results on your phone have to do more with where you're searching from than where your practice is located. And it kind of clicked, right? So here's a really specific, like, defined example of how this works. This is VP Dental. They're down in Raleigh, just north of Raleigh. And if I am standing where this lady is standing, which is about 1.5 miles northwest of the practice, and I do a search dentist near me on my phone, and I count down on the Google Maps. If I look at the first position, second, third, they're number 2. They're on the front page. The top 3 listings are always on the front page. 4 and below are kind of on the inside pages. If I go the same distance away, southeast about 1.5 miles where this guy's standing, and do the same search, they're 13th. So the ranking isn't like in a circle. It's not like you rank in the same place in the same distance in any direction. It can get all weird, and it has to do with competition. It has to do with the type of search phrase that you're doing, but it's not as simple as just, oh, I should rank, number 1 a mile this way, a mile that way, a mile the other way. So what you have to do if you wanted to really figure out where you rank and who is finding you when they're searching you from their home or their cell phone is you literally got to do what I told the doctor. You got to drive around town doing searches on your phone. But nobody's going to do that. So it's dumb. So we have a tool, basically. It's a heat mapping tool. Super, super simple tool. It basically just tells Google, look, I'm standing at this location, or run a result as if I'm standing from this location. And what we do is we run all these points. So this graph you're looking at is 169 different search results. And the circle's where you're standing at, or where we've told Google we're standing at. The number on the dot is the number of positions down in the Google Maps listings. So number 1, 2, or 3 are on the first page. 4, 5, 6, 7, you're on you got to go into Google Maps from your desktop to find those. So you want to be green, basically. Now the practice, VP Dental, is dead center in this map. It's on that number 2 right in the center. That's where the practice is located. And every one of these little dots is 0.5 mile apart. So we basically say, run a result for, run a search as if I'm standing in the practice for dentist near me. That's the search term for this particular heat map. And then tell me how far down the map VP Dental is. They're number 2. Okay, great. Now go 0.5 mile north, east, south, and west and do the same thing. And so you build out this map, right? And you can see that they're really only ranking on the front page of Google within about, not even 0.5 mile of their practice for the phrase dentist near me. But what's interesting about this is that you can run this whole map all over again for a different search phrase and get a different map. So for cosmetic dentist, which is what they wanted to optimize for, they're ranking number 1 for at least 3 to 4 miles around their practice. So the reason why that is because that's what they've been working on, right? That's the phrase. They didn't actually want to rank for dentist because they just didn't want general dental clients. They wanted cosmetic clients. They weren't in need of just more clients. They wanted different, and they were transitioning out of insurance and all this kind of stuff. So they really wanted to focus on cosmetic patients. So the heat maps are totally different, right? Not good here, awesome here. Okay. Now, what does this mean? What does this actually mean in terms of like dollars and revenue and so forth? Here's another example of VP Dental. So they wanted to, after getting them to rank better for cosmetic dentist, they wanted to rank better for family dentist. So we ran a report day one for family dentist. They weren't ranking anywhere. If it has by the way, if it's a little white X and a red dot, that means they're 20 positions more or deeper in the list of results. We just stopped counting at 20. So they were 20 positions deep everywhere or more. After about 6 months, you can see that they're starting to rank right around their practice, maybe within a half a mile. After a year, maybe a mile to maybe a mile and a half in some areas, possibly. Okay. Now that doesn't look like a huge, I mean, when you look at this heat map versus this heat map, it's not even anywhere close to what they were doing for cosmetic dentistry. But this brought in between 5 to 10 new patients a month, just for this one keyword. So the way to think about this is if you were to do SEO, local SEO, optimize your listing for maybe 5 to 8, 9, 10 keywords, and you were ranking well for those, it'd be 50, 67. I mean, depending on where you're at, located. I mean, in a normal kind of like urban area, it'd be 50, 60, 70 patients a month. It's not like super sexy, like, you know, a bunch of full arch cases. There may be patients that would come to you for full arch, but it's like bread and butter dentistry. It's a machine. It keeps you fed all the time. When times are tight, you still get patients. I mean, it's just like a super simple thing to do. It doesn't cost hardly any money to do this. You just need to do the strategies, right? So that's what you get out of it. You basically get a lot of new patients, a lot of eyeballs on you, and it just feeds the machine, so to speak. I hate to use that machine word, but that was the first thing that came to mind. Now, let me bounce out of dental practices and let me show you something about Getsy. So I thought Brian was from Getsy. Louis, I will answer your question here in just a second, okay? I thought Brian was with Getsy. He's moved to Patterson, so I used some Getsy examples thinking that this would be relevant, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So Getsy's a supply company, but they also do a little bit of consulting, I think. Yeah, I don't know all the services they offer, but I know they have field sales reps that go out, meet with practices. They work specifically with independent practices, and they provide supplies, and I think they have a buying group, if I'm right. And they also are kind of consultant in nature, okay? So they have like 7 or 8 locations that I could find online. And I just found 3 of them when I ran these heat maps on those locations. So this is on the left, we have one in Kansas City, one in Des Moines in the middle, or Urbandale, and then one on the right for Wichita. And the search phrase that I used is dental supply store, right? So I use this search phrase, and they're ranking really well for dental supply store. Actually, most of their locations are. But if you run it for dental consulting, they don't show up anywhere. Okay, so the same thing goes for consultants. You can rank really well for one type of search phrase, but you may not rank anywhere for another search phrase. Okay, and this all has to do with how you optimize the listing. What are you doing to the listing to direct Google, to let Google know that this is the type of search phrase that you should show up for? Okay. All right. Let's move on to the workshop. Okay. Now, I'm going to start. So what I'm going to try and get through is the first 3 or 4 strategies that you need to do in order to do this. Oh, and then Louis, let me answer your question really quick. So before I jump into this. So Louis asked, what are the recommended tools for auditing our SEO efforts? I use SEMrush. You mentioned SEMrush in there. I use SEMrush. I like SEMrush. Moz is another good one. Ahrefs, REFS is another good one. Basically, those are all tools that you can connect your Google Analytics to. But because Google Analytics is like a cluster F and it's so hard to understand when you start digging into it, these tools make it much more simpler to understand. So I use SEMrush. When we have an SEO client, so somebody comes to us and they want us to do SEO for them, we use SEMrush to do our reporting to report to them. So I really like SEMrush. I think it's a really great tool. It's not too expensive. It's probably a few $100 a month if you buy a new license, maybe $200 or $300 or something like that. But it'll help you with all stuff. And also SEMrush has a heat mapping tool in it. It's not the same one that I use, but they have a way in which you can run these heat maps from inside of SEMrush. I will tell you though, if you guys want, I mean, you don't have to go out and buy SEMrush, but if you want me to run some of these heat maps for you, I'm happy to do it. That QR code will take you to yeah, I'll answer your next question here in a second, Lewis. This will take you to a form. And if you'll just fill the form out so I know who you are and what your website address is or your URL and how to get in touch with you, I'll run these heat maps for all the search phrases that you'd like, whether you're a consultant or a dental practice. And I'll run as many as you want. I mean, like I say, I've got the tool, it's already purchased, and so I can just run them and I'll send them to you. And I'll probably there's quite a few people in here. I'll probably have to lean on my team to help out. So we'll get back in touch. We'll send them to you and tell you what they mean. But yeah, just if you want me to do that for you, I'm happy. And if we run into any problems or weird stuff, I'll walk you through what it might mean or why you might be having problems. Lewis asked one more question. Thank you. Do you have any insights into the recent leak from the Google algorithm? So the update that Google came out with like 2 months ago, is that the one that you're talking about? Or are you talking about a new one that I don't know about? I think you're probably talking about the one that's a couple months ago. Basically what they did is they updated a couple months ago, they updated their algorithm and they got rid of a ton of spamming type things. So one of the things that a lot of SEO marketing people were doing were buying links. They were basically going to somebody like Forbes.com, where Forbes will sell the opportunity to publish an article and it'll be produced on Forbes in their massive library of stuff to create an inbound link for a practice or a business. And it's really just a spamming kind of tool. So they got rid of tons and tons and tons of links, the link value that was being created by companies that were selling links, basically. The other thing that they looked into is getting rid of content. They're looking at the contextual writing of content. So they're looking at how well something is written to see if it seems like it might be copied or just kind of like not very helpful or educated or well-written content, and they devalued a lot of that stuff. So we saw with My Social Practice, we didn't have a big hit too much. I mean, there were a few pages that we had to go in and kind of rewrite. We saw it happened to a few of our clients though, where we were writing content for their blog. And, you know, if you're doing that for years and years and years, eventually you're writing the same stuff over and over again. And we had to go back in and like update some of the copy and whatnot. So I hope that answers your question, but that's that recent Google update. Google's always coming up with updates to try and make their goal is to try and give the consumer exactly what they're looking for and the best result possible. And in search engine optimization, you know, you can, and what I'm going to be showing you today is not what I'm about to say, but you can game the system. You know, you can kind of try and figure out what it is that Google's looking for and then fake it somehow. And I'm not going to be showing you anything like that. That's more of kind of like black hat tactics and so forth. But what happens is as soon as Google sees that people are buying links from Forbes, because Google values Forbes and they're giving a strong link credit from that inbound link, they go, oh, well, Forbes is just scamming the system. They're just making money trying to help people rank better. So they get rid of that, right? So, you know, it's always kind of like this cat and mouse kind of thing where People are always chasing how to do it. The clear directive and the best practice for SEO is to just write good content, be consistent, and do the things that Google suggests and do it consistently. I said that twice, and you'll start outranking all your competitors because nobody wants to do it, frankly, right? So, and to work with a marketing company, if you hire it out, work with a marketing company. This is not a plug for us. So there's a lot of great marketing companies out there that's not doing black hat kind of like sneaky tactics and so forth. Okay. All right. Okay, no other questions. All right, so let's get into how you do this. Okay. So the first step, and this is the hardest step, and this is the step we always get stuck on with everybody, is you got to check the ownership of your listing and make sure you have access to it. So you do that one way. Okay. We're talking about Google Maps. Google Maps is on the left. Apple Maps is on the right. We do not want to do anything with Apple Maps, not in this presentation. You need to be able to get to the Apple Maps application or Google Maps application. Now I'm getting screwed up. Google Maps application on your phone. So if you have an Android phone, you have it on your phone. It's already installed when you buy your phone. If you have an Apple phone, then you have to download Google Maps. And it has to be the icon on the left. That's the one you have to download. So for those of you who are looking, pull your phones out or watching or listening, pull your phones out and look and see if you have Google Maps, not Maps, not Apple Maps, Google Maps on your phone. If you don't, you have to download it. Okay, that's the first step. All right, second, once you've opened up Google Maps on your phone, you search the name of your business or your practice. And once you've done that, you'll find the listing and you should see, hopefully, you'll see a little thing there that says you manage this business profile, or it might be, sometimes it says edit here or edit this or edit or something like that. If you see that, or the editing capabilities, excuse me, that means that you're logged into a Google account on your phone that is an owner or a manager of the listing. If you don't see that, then you're either not logged into any Google account on your phone, or you're logged into a Google account on your phone that's not an owner or a manager of the listing. The way that Google business profiles are managed are a lot like social media accounts. Okay. So like a Facebook page, right? For like a Facebook page for your dental practice or your consulting practice. When you go set up the page, Facebook encourages you to set up a page, not a profile, right? They want you to set up a business profile, or I should say a business page, not a personal profile. But you can't set up the business page unless you have a personal profile. So when you go and set it up, your personal profile manages the business page. And that's basically the same process here. You have a Google account. Your Google account is your Gmail account. It's the same thing, okay? Your Gmail address, the thing that you use to log into Google, that's your Google account. That can claim and own and basically manage listings, multiple listings. So the problem that we get stuck here is that the listings that your dental practice listing or your dental consulting listing, consultant listing, if they've been created and they're online, we've got to figure out who owns it, what Google account owns it, and no one ever freaking knows. It's like chaos. Every time I present this in like a live session, half the room gets stuck. So here's how you do it. Here's the easy way to figure this out. So for those of you who do not see an editing capability there, okay, the first thing to do is you need to go to Google search. You go to Google search and you just search the name of your business. Do a direct search, okay? On the left, or excuse me, on the right, you'll have your knowledge graph. And in there, there's a little link. There should be a link that says own this business. If you click on that, it'll take you to a page where there's a partial email address. That's the email address that's the owner of the listing, okay? Now, if you look at that email address and you're like, I have no idea whose email address that is, or you're like, oh yeah, I know whose that is. I can't talk to that person ever again, or whatever. You don't have it's not one that you're familiar with and you have the password to, then you request access. You click that link, it'll take you to another page. I didn't screenshot the next page, but it takes you to a page and it says, what kind of access do you want? Owner, manager, and then Google will send an email to this email address here, letting them know that you would like access. And if they don't respond, Google will then take more stringent efforts and they will basically allow you to claim the listing. Okay. So what you're doing here is if you look at this and you're like, I don't know whose email address that is, and you've got to regain control, you go through the request and access process. Okay. Now, for some of you, you may look at that email address and go, oh yeah, I know whose email address that is. That's the doctor's email address, or that's my spouse's email address, or whatever it might be. And you might have the password as well. If you don't have the password, you'll need to get it. But if you know the email address and you can get the password, here's what you do. You go back to Google Maps, you clear the search bar. So notice there's nothing in the search bar there. And you'll see a little icon on the right. There's a picture of me there with a less hairy picture of me, but you might see like a letter or a color or something like that. You click on that and that'll open up a panel and it'll show you all of the Google accounts that you're currently logged into on your phone. So you can see here, I've got one for my social practice at the top, then I have my personal, my spouse's, and then another one for my social practice. So there's 4 accounts that I have basically logged into on my phone. And if I click on my personal one or my spouse's, it'll move them to the top, and then I'm acting as that from that account. If that's the account, that's the owner, I just go back in, search the name of my practice, and you'll see the editing capabilities. So basically what I'm saying is, like, if you go and you check here, and I wasn't clear on that. So if you go and you check here and you see the account, that's the owner of the account, just toggle to that account and then you'll have access. If you don't see the account, you click add another account, you log into it using the password, and then you'll see it listed here in the list. And then you go back to Google Maps, you search the name of your business, and you'll be able to edit. Okay, so you got to find out who's the owner, and then you've got to get access. You got to have the password, and this is where everybody gets stuck. So if there's anybody on the call right now who is totally confused and wants me to take just like 5 minutes, I will go and we'll figure it out. So if you don't know the owner of your listing, if you can't find it, you're struggling, just type into here the name of your business. And if you have a website, your website, and I'll go look, I'll just jump out of the screen share and we'll go to Google and we'll do it. I can show you how to do it. If nobody chats in the next 15, 20 seconds, I'll just move on, assuming that you guys are either right with me or totally confused. All right, well, nobody's chatting, so I'm going to assume we're all good. All right. Here's another problem that you can run into, okay? And good thing Getsy's not on the phone, because this is an example of what not to do, all right? So when you search the name of your business, you may find that it hasn't been claimed. And what that means is Google actually creates these listings automatically. They'll create them for businesses that have registered with the state, and Google grabs the state records and creates listings. If you've created a website, but you've not set up your Google business profile, they'll see your website, they'll create a listing from your website, and they'll just be floating out there. And what you have to do is you have to go get it and claim it. And then when you claim it, you basically claim it by assigning a Google account to it that then becomes you become the owner, right? So one of the practices, or one of the locations of Getsy, not practices, excuse me, hadn't been claimed. So I want to show you this. So I did a Getsy Dental, Des Moines, Iowa. There's the knowledge graph there, and you see the own this business. When I click on the own the business, it doesn't show me a partial email address. It shows me a button that says manage now. This means it hasn't been claimed. So if I click on that, which I didn't go any further than this. What will happen is it will send a phone call to that number that's on the listing, which I believe goes to their main office. Google will give them a code. You get the code, you click the next button, put the code in, and you claim the listing. It's that simple, okay? So that's just an example of if you have a listing, when you click own this business, you don't see an email address that says this, that means you just claim it. Go ahead and get it. Take control of it. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't have a Google business profile, because there may be some of you on the call that don't, all you do is go to www.google.com/business and click that manage now button, and it'll walk you through how to set one up. It's that simple. Okay. It takes about a week for them to verify it, and you have to do some things like make sure you got all the right information in there. And sometimes they ask you to send some verification information like your business license or something like that. But that's how you set it up. Okay. Super, super simple. Now, if you're still stuck, anybody that didn't want to chat in because you were embarrassed or didn't have the time to chat in or confused, shoot me an email. Tell me what the problem is. I'll work on it and see if we can fix whatever you're running into. I'm happy to do that. Adrian@mysocialpractice.com. All right. That's the first step. Step 2, claim your practitioner listings. Now, this is specifically for dentists. This really doesn't have much to do with consultants, at least in terms of optimizing a consultant's listing. But this is super important for consultants to know about when you're communicating with your clients. So, and this is something that nobody does. Nobody does this, and most people don't even know you can do this. So this is like a super sweet tip. Okay, in Google, there are 4 medical practices or medical facilities, healthcare facilities. They recommend 2 types of listings, a practice listing and a practitioner listing. They want one for the business and one for the doctor, not just one doctor, but every doctor in the office. Okay. A practitioner listing is a listing under the name of the doctor. Google creates these for each of the doctors in a practice. They are created automatically. Google creates them. Okay. And then for most doctors, they just float online. Nobody even knows that they're there, but they're online. So why does Google do this? They do it because it makes a better experience for the consumer. Consumers, when they go and they search for a dental practice, they might search the doctor's name, right, rather than the practice. So if you've got a practice, you got 2 or 3 doctors in there, and there's a really strong relationship between a patient and one of the doctors, but that doctor's maybe an associate or something like that, they might be searching the associate's name. And what they'll find is the associate's practitioner listing, most likely, which nobody ever even knows about. The doctors don't know about it. Nobody ever does anything. So they do that because they want the consumer to be able to find what they're looking for. And they know that in a medical practice, there's lots of people, lots of doctors, more than one usually, and there's different specialties. So they're recommending to set it up like this. So practitioner listings are not considered duplicates, and Google will not remove them or merge them without a request to do so. They create them automatically. We are working with a company, endodontic DSO location. They got 6 locations or 5. I can't remember. It's called Cameo up in near Chicago. And they had like, I mean, this is I probably shouldn't even go into this because it might take too long to describe. Anyway, the whole point is that I probably shouldn't go into this. It's a long story. It's not necessary. But anyway, what happened was they just had a ton of practitioner listings that had never been claimed and tons of duplicates. And it was one of the reasons that was stopping them from ranking well on their practice listing. Anyway, I won't go any further than that. All right. So this was yesterday. I ran some additional searches, and I just ran a search. So again, I'm sitting in my office at my home, and I ran a search for dentist. Okay. And I'm just looking at So I'm inside of Google Maps, so I'm doing the search on my computer. So I searched dentist, and I just looked down the top 20 results to see how many of these might be practitioner listings. Everyone that I've circled here is a practitioner listing. So the 3rd position, the 5th position, 9th position, 12th position, and the last 5, they're all practitioner listings that have been, most of these last 5 haven't even been claimed. So they show up in search, but no one's paying attention to them because no one knows that they're even there. So, and anyway, they're there, they're found by consumers, they're being created by Google. All you got to do is claim them and optimize them. So you do the same thing that you do with your practice. You search the name of the doctor. You'll find the listing, you click own this business and click manage now, and you claim it. And then you can edit the listing. Okay. And there's the phone verification process where you do it. All right. And once you claim it, now you can edit it. All right. So the goal here of doing this, the question from Lewis, what's your name, right? What if the dentist specific Google business profile doesn't appear? That probably means that it was merged or deleted. That's what it means. But you can also search variations of their name. So don't use doctor in front, use their first name, middle name, or initial, last name. You can try different variations to see if you find one. And you can also look at if they've bounced around from practices, if they've moved from one practice to another. You might want to check the location of the last practice. Because so if they're in like different parts of the town or a different state, you could search Dr. John Smith, Chicago, where he was before, and you might find the practitioner listing still floating in Chicago. If they haven't, if you don't find anything, then most likely what's happened is it's been merged. You can merge these, and a lot of people have done this, and a lot of marketing companies have done this. Unfortunately, they merge them because they're kind of a pain in the ass. Like they're just, what do I do with it? I got to claim it now. I got to get reviews on it. Why am I doing it? It's just another annoying kind of thing. But the reality of it is that they rank so well that's not according to Google's recommendations. You should claim them and optimize them. So, and the way you do this is the goal is to optimize your practice listing for certain phrases and your practitioner listing for different phrases. So if your practice listing is ranking really well for cosmetic dentist and you want dental implant patients, you don't change the optimization from cosmetic dentistry to dental implants on your practice listing. You just optimize your practitioner listing for dental implants. That's the best way to do it. So, and I'm gonna show you a couple quick steps on how to do that right now. Okay. But Lewis, if you want, you can email me the name of the doctor, and I'll see if I can find them their practitioner listing if you'd like. Okay. All right. Yeah, just email them to me. All right. So the 3rd step, now that you've claimed your listings, you can get access to them. You've claimed your practitioner listings, or if you're a consultant, you want to kind of understand that your clients should probably do that, and you can kind of mention it to them. And by the way, if any of you dental consultants on the call want to have me do an evaluation on one of your clients, so if you have a dental practice and you're like, I want to bring this up to them, but I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to present it, just shoot me an email. I'll lay it out for you. I'll explain it to you, and then you can walk in with some really cool, good information. Okay. And some tips and some strategies to help the practice out. All right. The next thing you do is you want to update your categories. Your category is, you want to update your primary category and your secondary categories. Your category has a huge influence on what you rank for. Okay. Here's an example. On the left is the practice listing. This is San Diego Surgical Arts down in San Diego, and Clement Kakish, Dr. Clement Kakish runs the practice. Okay. So on the left is his practice listing. On the right is his practitioner listing. The search phrase that I ran for both of these is oral surgeon. So I've used my little heat mapping tool and I've said, San Diego Surgical Arts, I want you to run 169 searches for oral surgeon and tell me if this practice listing is ranking anywhere. And it wasn't. And then I did the same thing for his practitioner listing. And they have the same location, right? It's just his practitioner listing, his practice listing. Run it for oral surgery, and he's ranking really, really well for oral surgeon. Now, the reason why is because his practice, the primary category is surgical center. So if I were to run surgical center phrases, that listing would probably rank well. But his primary category on his practitioner listing is oral surgeon. So when I search for oral surgeon or oral surgery, right, or best oral surgeon phrases, he ranks really, really well. And one of the main reasons why is because the primary category is different than the practice listing. Here's another example. So Lakeside Dental, Dr. Drain. This is the practice listing for two different phrases. So this is not the practitioner listing. This is just an example of how much influence the primary category has on searches. So on the left, we ran the heat map for cosmetic dentist. On the right, we ran the heat map for dentist for the practice listing both times. They're obviously ranking a lot better for cosmetic dentist than they are for dentist. Well, that's because cosmetic dentist is their primary category. That's one of the main reasons. Okay, so you can see it has an influence. If you want a listing to rank for cosmetic, you should have that as your primary category. So when you're doing your optimization, you're thinking, okay, what kind of a patient do I want? And you're deciding on that primary category because it's pretty critical. Here's another example. This is a oops example. Okay, Dr. Larson, Island Dental. On the left is the practice listing, and I searched dental clinic. On the right is the practice listing, and I searched dentist. Obviously not ranking very well for dentist, but they are ranking really well for dental clinic. And one of the reasons why is because in the Google system, when you go and you put in your practitioner, your primary category, dental clinic is one of the options. And it's like the dumbest, most ridiculous option because no one on the planet searches dental clinic. Everybody searches for dentist. So he may be ranking well for dental clinic, but nobody searches that. He needs to change his primary category from dental clinic to dentist. That's what needs to be done, okay, in this situation. All right, so here's how you do it. When you're in the Google Maps, you just click Edit Profile, Business Information, and then Business Category, hit the little pencil to edit, and then it'll take you to a place where you can edit. Now, this is an example of my social practices page that I put together. We've got 4 categories: marketing agency, website designer, advertising agency, marketing consultant, okay? I don't recommend for a dental practice more than 3. For someone like us, where we're reaching the entire country and we have lots and lots of different services and so forth, 4 is not bad. A consultant could probably put 4 in there, but the few less is more when it comes to categories. But you should do at least 2 or 3, I would think. Now, here are all the dental categories in Google. These are the ones you can choose from. You can't just write in what you want. Your categories are siloed and crafted by Google. Okay. So if you are so if you do what I've mentioned before, which is that you optimize, you claim your practitioner listing, and you want to optimize these for 2 different phrases, you might do something like this. Your practice listing, if you're a GP, could be dentist, cosmetic dentist, emergency dental service. There's 3. And then maybe you just do dental implant provider on your practitioner listing, or you might have another one. Here's another option: dentist, dental implant provider, cosmetic dentist, emergency dental service. And what you'll find is that the practitioner listing takes some of the weight off of the practice listing, having to rank for lots of different keywords. That's what happens. So you're structuring this in a way, and before you make this decision, You want to run the heat maps to see what you're ranking for already. Because if you're a dentist and you're already ranking really, really well for, say, dentist or dentist near me or best dentist, you want to leave that primary category as dentist because you don't want to lose those rankings, right? And then maybe you're not ranking really well for dental implants. And so that's where you use your practitioner listing to help it rank. Okay. All right. Now for dental consultants, this is a little bit of a different game. Okay. There are hardly any services in this list for dental that relate to a dental consultant or a dental management company. There's dental supply store. That's the only thing that's in there. I should probably check. The last time I checked them, this was about 6 months ago, but they've been the same for about 5 years. So I don't know if they've changed them, but this is the only thing that kind of is outside of just a dental practice that might relate to a dental consultant, but it's not really, because if you're a consultant and you're just doing consulting, you're not really selling stuff. Getsy uses dental supply store because they do sell a lot of they sell hardware and tools and so forth and dental products. So there are some other phrases that I found that all of the other dental consultants are using, and these are them: consultant, business management consultant, business broker, human resource consulting, marketing consultant, so on and so forth. You can read them. Okay. Here's where I got this list from. I just did a bunch of research on this. I just zoomed out in Google Maps and I did a search, and I did an incognito search. This had no influence on my previous searching. And I did a search for dental consulting. Adams Dental Consulting comes up #1. So that's countrywide. For some reason, Google has placed them at the top of the list when somebody is searching all of the United States for a dental consulting company. And their primary category is consultant. Strain, consultant. My practice, my business, business management consultant. Fortune, I know those guys pretty well, business management consultant. Act Dental, business management consultant. Business management consultant. I'm going to go down the page here. Business management consultant. So on and so forth. And then RS Consulting doesn't know what they're doing. They've got dental clinic in there. Business management consultant. Now there's consultant, business management consultant, business management. Okay, so if I'm doing a search for the entire United States, incognito, which means that I'm not using any previous, it's not taking into consideration any of my previous searches, and I'm seeing business management consultant and consultant are the two main primary categories of all the ones that are ranking high, those are probably the two you want to use. Just gets an indication of what Google, when I search dental consultant, they're relating that to consultant and business management consultant. Okay. So as an example, when we go back to Getsy here, we ran all these reports, right? These heat maps, and I ran these for dental supply store. Well, that's because that's their category. Their category for all of these is dental supply store, their primary category. So when I search dental supply store, they rank really well. But when I go to dental consulting, they don't rank well. Now, the thing that I found with Getsy, which I'm going to have to call Caleb and some of the guys I know over there and let them know about all this, is that they have these 6 locations, right? These are physical locations. And I used a tool that will help me see what all of the categories that they use are. So every one of these little screenshots basically comes from this other tool I use, which I can investigate and see, do they have a secondary category, a third category, a fourth? How many categories do they have listed and which ones are they? Well, when they set these up, they only put in one category for all of them. Dental supply store for Kansas City, dental supply store from Des Moines, same thing for Springfield, same thing for Wichita. Centennial, Colorado, they were called a dentist. That's a problem. And in Omaha, their location in Omaha, it's a medical supply store. So the question that I would ask them is this: do you want to rank for management consultant, or HR services, or any other services that they might offer. And all you want to do is go in and add those as a secondary or a third category, and they'll start ranking better for those phrases. Nobody's ever looked. I'm sure nobody's ever looked at this because the Des Moines location wasn't even claimed. It's still not claimed. I think there's a couple others that aren't. So you look at the let me go back here. So you're looking at these, you're deciding, well, what do I offer and what should I do? So if you're a typical consultant, you're consulting on business management practices, sales training, if you're helping with marketing, if you're helping with making decisions with, how to recruit or anything like that, I would stick with consultant, business management consultant, and then maybe choose a third one that's close to a service that you offer. And those are the categories you want to use. All right, let me go back here. Oh, I didn't have to go back. I created a slide for it. So business management consultant, marketing consultant, dental supply stores, I would probably tell Getsy to do this. Have them all have it, as long as they're still selling products out of each one of their locations, they're shipping from there. I would have them be dental supply stores, and then business management consultant, and then maybe a marketing consultant or one of the others that relates to their services. Another way to do it would be this: business to business service, business management consulting, and human resource consulting. All right. Last thing I'm going to go through, and then I'll take a few questions if you have any. So back early when we first started this, I showed you this research result, and this Dental Coach USA showed up as the knowledge graph for dental practice coach near me. Now remember, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. Dental Practice Coach USA doesn't have an address. And so it's kind of like, and when I zoomed in on it, they're actually like the dots like out in the ocean somewhere, like off the coast of Seattle or Portland or whatnot. So like they're like 1,000 miles away from me. So why would they show up in the knowledge graph, which typically shows up when you do a direct search? And here's 2 reasons why this happens. Okay. When I search dental practice coach, Google's trying to make its best guess if I'm looking for Dental Coach USA, because there's 2 words in there that are relatable. They're making that connection. Now, this has a lot to do, or this is indicative of the fact that when you name your business, so one of the other things I was going to get to in the, strategies, we won't have time tonight, but I'll just mention it, is that when you name your business, you should name it in a way in which you can include part of one of the big search phrases. And one of the biggest search phrases for consulting is dental consultant and dental consultants. So let's say that the name of your business is Dental Coach USA. What I would do, if that was my business, I would call it Dental Coach USA : dental consultant. Because just the name, adding the name or this part of the search phrase in the name helps you to rank, i.e. this example here, dental practice coach, Dental Coach USA. Okay. Now, the other reason that this is showing up for me, even though it's 1,000 miles away, is because they don't have an address. When you go to set up a Google profile, you can set it up with an address or without an address. And the instructions from Google are that if you accept clients at an office, even if it's your home office, you should use that as your address. But if you don't accept clients, if you're always going out and you're meeting clients, but they're never coming to you, you can set it up with no address and rather add just a geographical area that you service, which is how My Social Practice set ours up. Because we don't have an office, we got rid of our office in COVID. All of us work from home, and we don't have clients. We don't have dentists come to our houses for anything. We're always on the phone or we go see them. So when you look at My Social Practice's listing in Google, you're not going to see an address. What you'll see is you'll see something like this little map here that has a picture of the United States circled, which means that we are offering services to all the businesses or all the dentists in that area. What that allows it to happen, what happens from there is that this knowledge graph can populate all over the country because you're not isolated to a particular address. Now that can be good and that can be bad. It could be good if you are servicing a wide area. If you are, let's say that you're a consulting company, you've got 4 or 5 reps or agents, and you guys all kind of work together, but you service maybe 3 or 4 states. When you go and set up your Google Business Profile, it might make sense to not have an address and rather just show an area that you cover, because your listing, your Google Business Profile, can show up in that whole area, irregardless of where, because there's no connection to a physical address. It'll just populate based on how well you've optimized the listing. That's my recommendation well, my recommendation is to follow Google's recommendation, which is if you're inviting people to your office, and your office is in your home, use your home as your office. If you're not, you might want to expand the area of what your influence and where your Google Business Profile might show up by using an area rather than an address. So if you have a physical location that accepts clients, then you should use an address. If not, then set up your account without one. If anyone on the call needs to do this, I will help you set it up. I want you to shoot me an email, Adrian@MySocialPractice, and let me know, and we'll get on a call and we'll set it up. I'll walk you through it. Okay. If it's the situation where you don't want to use an address, you want to use it, you want to be found in an area. Okay. All right. One last shot at if you want me to run some of the heat maps for your business, for your practice, for your clients' practices, make sure to shoot me or fill out that form, and then I'll call you or have one of the guys on the team here call you. We'll get those run, sent over with some explanation on how it works. And one last thing, I actually am putting together a series of webinars for consultants. I have another one coming up on August 29th. It's going to be all about artificial intelligence in dentistry. We're going to be talking about tools, some of the new technology that's kind of come into the market in the last year that all relate to AI. A lot of practice management tips and tricks and technology that will help practices run smoother. And here is a QR code if you want to sign up for that. I'll make sure to send everybody that's registered here an email to sign up for it if you'd like. But that'll be a really, really cool presentation. That's the presentation that I get asked more often than anything. All right. So any more questions for anybody? If there are, I'm happy to answer them. If not, shoot me an email if you have anything that you want me to help you out with. I'm happy to jump on a call, and I really appreciate you coming. And I just love doing this. So let me know if there's anything that I can do or anybody here from My Social Practice can do for you to help you build your consulting practice or your dental practice. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great night. Oh, Stacy said, can you send the link to the form for the heat map? I'm on my phone. So Stacy, I've got your email. I will definitely send you the link for the heat map. Okay. I'll email it to you. Brian says, if you are naming your practice, is it better to use dental versus DDS? It's better to use dental. Nobody really searches DDS. I would use dental. And Brian, if you have questions about that, shoot me an email and I'll give you some suggestions. So if you've got a client that you're talking to and they're considering some different names, I've done this 1,000 times. I could give you maybe 2 or 3 suggestions that might nail it down for you. Lewis, you're so welcome. Thanks for coming, man. Come to the AI event. Stacy, you're an angel. I'll shoot you the QR code to you and everybody else there. And I appreciate you guys' time. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you again. See ya.